I'm Ashton Addison from BlockWest Capital for Investment Pitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Anthony Estebe, CEO and co-founder of Liteflow. Anthony, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time.
Hey, Aston. Thank you for having me. That's great.
You're very welcome. Let's dive right into it. NFTs are continuing to explode and bring utility to other industries. Your team is helping with solutions on bringing NFTs to even more people, and I want to dive into that today. So let's kick off our conversation with just an overview to start of Liteflow, the solutions that your team is working on, and then we'll dive into the details.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Liteflow with our team we are building for the past year and even before that, for the past 5-6 years, product with on blockchain. More especially for the past year with Liteflow on NFT and NFT marketplaces. So the goal of our solution is really to try to provide to brands, to companies who want to go in the whole NFT space, either for the metaverse or for more like utility parts, to provide them all the tools they need to actually launch their marketplace with their own branding and everything dedicated for them. And so that they can go to market really, really fast. Here I'm talking about like a few weeks, maybe a month, instead of like taking like maybe a year to actually launch their platform. And yeah, full feature NFT marketplace with not only the initial sale, but also like all the reselling parts, all the secondary market that comes with it. So like that, they have all the feature to onboard their creators and also onboard all the people who actually want to get into NFT.
Mm-hmm. Great intro. Thank you, Anthony. And maybe we can talk a little bit more about, there is a few NFT marketplaces that are sort of controlling NFTs right now, but and nothing's perfect. There are problems with NFT marketplaces in the way that they're buying and selling. Can you talk about what you've seen in the problems with NFT marketplaces and how you're helping with those solutions?
Yeah, I would say one of the major issues that there is currently is the centralization. And we're all in blockchain. We know that centralization is good to some extent, but ultimately, it's not necessarily the best thing to have one platform that centralizes everything and that control all the market. The goal here at Liteflow is to actually say like, no, don't put everything on, let's say, OpenSea, for example. It's a major platform. But don't put like all your efforts only on that. Now you can also have your own marketplace for your own needs. And yeah, that would be good for your community. That would be good for your brand. That would be good also. So like that, you don't have like everything in one place. And that's kind of like what Shopify did in a way, giving the possibilities to actually have this technology for yourself and including it in your own ecosystem, in your own company and projects, and overall kind of like decentralize where actually people do these trades, interact with these NFTs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And especially because if it's super centralized, then there's points of failure. And, you mentioned OpenSea there. There's been a few times where people have lost their NFTs, or there's been vulnerabilities because that's the only place, and they sort of get duped or somehow. And obviously, decentralized or just more distributed will hopefully help with that. And with OpenSea specifically, I know they're more working with NFTs on the Ethereum blockchain, but there are a lot of blockchains that also have NFTs on them. With Liteflow marketplace, does it matter which blockchain technology you're using?
It does matter. We are not compatible with like any blockchain. Like you cannot do NFTs on Bitcoin, for example. But any EVM compatible blockchain, that's something we can manage from like layer 1 to layer 2. That's something we can actually deploy the solution on any blockchain of your choice, as long as it's EVM compatible, as long as there is this like ERC20 standard, so that you can use to actually accept different trades. But yeah, most of the blockchain on the market right now are actually EVM compatible because the ecosystem is huge. And so there is no issue with that. So depending on the business needs, They might want even some private blockchain. They might want a public one like Ethereum because it's reliable, because it's well known, and there is a lot of funding in that. Or they might want some cheaper solution like Binance, for example, Polygon. So yeah, we make sure that we can have access to all these different type of blockchains.
That's good to know. And also I've seen with marketplaces, there's general marketplaces where many different companies are coming and putting their NFTs, or individuals, but there's also sort of that, you have a website, that's your platform, and you just have your NFTs on your own website, on your own marketplace. Are you seeing a mixture of both of those, or how do you see that playing out as NFTs and NFT marketplaces mature?
I would say on the first version, I would say it will still be like a kind of like different platform that is integrated in your ecosystem. But ultimately, yes, it will be fully integrated in your website, in your application, in whatever business you have. And that's also something that we actually work on. We try to have like not only just like a direct product that you can just publish and you're good to go, but also all the tools that goes around with that. So all the infrastructure, all the different APIs, the different components, and all the things that a business needs to actually even customize entirely their products and integrate this NFT marketplace within their products.
That's great. And you mentioned that Liteflow, you've been working in blockchain for many years now, but more specifically on the marketplace in the last year. How have you seen the evolution of NFT and NFT marketplaces since the birth of OpenSea sort of being the go-to place, and now as that continues to expand, are you seeing more distribution and decentralization of marketplaces like at a rapid pace, or is it slow?
Definitely at a rapid pace, but I would say like we need to differentiate marketplaces, because a lot of marketplaces on the market are actually NFT marketplaces without being NFTs and having like a centralized solution where like they call it NFTs, but in the end it's just nothing like NFTs. It's not on the blockchain and anything like that. So a lot of these products are actually on the market right now. They are, I would say, dangerous in a way. Then there is like normal, more like Web3 marketplaces. There are lots. They kind of like all compete with each other. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing. The same with like e-commerce website or something like that. There is a lot of e-commerce websites. They all have their own like differences with some pro and cons, their different niche. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We need to see more of these marketplaces. We don't need to stick with like, let's have one. This one is great. Let's stick with that one. Every businesses should have their own marketplaces. Every project that launch their NFT collection should have their own marketplaces. Ultimately, that's the way it will be. It will take time, but that's kind of like the work that we are doing right now, is to try to help toward this direction.
Interesting. And I've seen one of the upcoming marketplaces that I saw seemed to be more decentralized. It was like the Looks Rare. And from what I've seen, projects that have governance tokens, they can use the token, and then everyone who is a token holder sort of has equal rights or voting rights for the NFT marketplace in a more decentralized way. With Liteflow solution, does it apply to centralized and non-centralized and fully decentralized marketplaces? It really depends on the company using the technology in the way that they want.
Yeah, exactly. That's something we don't force anything, and we really try to also like work with the companies, work with the project to actually help them to structure their business model. And when I say business model, it's not only like taking a fees, for example, on the platform, but also like, what do you do with these fees? Do you actually want to redistribute them? Do you want to, I don't know, maybe set up a DAO and then redistribute the fund from that? There is different ways, and that is also the part that we are trying to help all these companies and projects, is to also provide some kind of advice, some kind of like consulting on like how they could set up that for their community, because every communities are different, every brands are different, and things that make sense for one doesn't make sense for another one. So they have the full flexibility of what they want to do with that. They can apply some fees on the platform, or they don't. They can redistribute to one entity or like multiple entities, they can really customize the type of business model they want to apply with their marketplace.
Interesting. And you mentioned there sometimes it doesn't make sense. And I want to sort of have a flip side of this question now. Is there any situation or disadvantage for a company to not be using Liteflow? Maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe it makes more sense to build something from scratch, which is probably going to be a lot more expensive and take a lot longer.
I would say, yeah, it's just like price and delay. They can definitely do that, but yeah, you need to have the knowledge for that. You need to know the right tools. You need to have the time for that. And it's not impossible, but you need to make sure you have everything. And it's hard to get everything right. You need to have people who are knowledgeable in the space for that, which is hard to find. So yeah, technically, yes, they could do it. But then after, it's more a question of like time versus money and versus what you will get. And most of the time with all the clients we talk with, all the different leads we talk with, a lot of them actually come from like, yeah, we decided to do that ourselves, and then we basically failed, and now we need a solution that we can use quickly, so like that we can go to market because we're already like 1 year late on our project. So it's actually something that happens quite often to see companies that try, because of course at the beginning you always want to try to do everything on your own, and then after really quickly realize that yeah, it's not that easy. Definitely not that easy.
Yeah, and I'm curious on your thoughts on the future of NFT marketplaces and the distribution of them. You know, with OpenSea sort of being the go-to right now, do you see the traction of OpenSea potentially, you know, dying off, or people moving towards these other smaller marketplaces and not using OpenSea in the future?
I don't see OpenSea like dying and like no volume at all on OpenSea. But what I see is really all these projects that actually are on OpenSea. They are as well on Rarible. They are as well on LooksRare. They are on all these platforms as well. And it's great. They need to be everywhere. They need to have like as many channels for their sales as possible. But they also need to have this in their community, in their space, where like they have their products, they have whatever type of communication they want to have. You don't want to redirect your people to some external platform. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good for the people of the community. So you want to have that internally. And you can have both. There is nothing against having both. And that's the stuff here, like to try to actually have more channel of distribution rather than just focusing on one single channel of distribution.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And Anthony, with where you guys are at right now, getting more companies involved with their own marketplaces, what are some of the plans that your team has as you continue to expand out your product? Is there anything in the roadmap that's of special interest?
In terms of like, I would say go-to-market, we are starting to push on collections, direct collection. Right now, we are focusing mostly on businesses who are not yet in the space, but want to come in the Web3 space. So this kind of deals take time. It's long because you need to have a lot of education around that, because you need to explain basically what is a Web3, like how to structure a business model for the whole like Web3 space. So now what we are also doing in parallel is actually to start to work towards collections, like NFT collection that are on the market that already have some traction. They already know what is NFT. They already have their audience, and then to them propose them actually some ways to improve their project with their own NFT marketplace, with maybe a system like LooksRare that they can actually get some fees and redistribute to their community, and like different type of business model that is actually interesting for them and for their community. So that would be the massive coming thing.
Very cool. And if there are other collections or businesses that are interested in learning more about this kind of technology, what is the best way for them to learn more?
So first, our website, so liteflow.com. There they can directly book a call with us or just send us some messages. And otherwise, Twitter. So we have Liteflow.com and even my personal Twitter, Anto1404. That would be the best way. And yeah, directly on Telegram after to just have quick chat. We really try to be like as present as possible and try to open the most conversation as possible with them.
Sounds great, Anthony. Thank you so much. I will leave the Liteflow links in the description box below. Appreciate you taking the time to come on and your insight about NFT marketplaces and the future of NFTs. And all the best with Liteflow, and let's follow up in the near future.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. That was great.